Welcome to another episode of Hey John, and today we're going to answer the question that I keep getting asked, which is what type of problems have you had with your Silverado EV? Stand by and we will go over the issues that we've ran into with this truck so far. The list isn't very long, which is good, but some of the items could be pretty scary. So hang on and we'll go through those. So the big problem we ran into was one morning I came out to start the truck. I didn't come out to sit under the hood. And you might wonder, why am I sitting out underneath this hood? It just happens to be a wonderful, not quite spring afternoon here in Northern California, and I wanted to get outside. And I don't have a clue how this is actually going to look on video, so hopefully it'll make it and it'll work out. But the biggest problem I ran into with this truck was when it was only 9 days old. And it was a pretty scary problem to run into based on different things I was reading on forums and other YouTube that were out there. I'm like, oh my God, did I already break my truck? You know, it's only 9 days old. But fortunately, we were able to work through it, and I'll cover that and what we did. And turns out everything turned out okay. So that's good. By the way, if you like seeing these types of quick little videos about the Silverado EV, and if they're of any use whatsoever, please subscribe. That will really help us continue to be able to do this. What I think one of the worst possible problems that an EV owner could have, and I mean, it basically scared me to death. It was like, oh my God, I've broken my truck already and it's only 9 days old. What am I going to do? How am I going to get it fixed? And the problem was I went out to my truck to get in it to go to work, and it had this terrible message on the dash. And it says, service high voltage system. I'm like, oh my God, what's happened? Have I already ruined my batteries in 9 days? What could possibly have gone wrong here? Did I charge it too full? Did I charge it too fast, too often? Lots of different things run through your head when you see that message, service high voltage system. It's never a good thing. I had a similar, not exactly, but a similar thing with an EV9, and it required the car to be at the dealership for a month to get fixed. So needless to say, all those bad thoughts are running around in my head of, oh my God, what does this mean? What am I going to do? So obviously the next thing I do, being the techie that I am, I go get online and start doing research of, what is service high voltage system? What does that really mean? What are the possibilities? So when you start researching this message, service high voltage system for a Silverado EV, you start seeing things like, oh yeah, I got this problem. I had to take it back to the dealership. They're replacing the battery packs, things along that nature. And some folks, it was taking multiple weeks to get that done. That was still fairly early in the Silverado EV when it, shortly after it had come out and stuff like that. Others said, oh yeah, I got it. I'm scheduled to get it replaced next week. It only takes a day for them to actually do it once they actually have all the materials. Obviously, it depends upon whether your local service department has the tools and the knowledge and stuff like that to make that happen. So again, I'm having all these thoughts of, oh, I've got to go ahead and get my batteries replaced. I'm like, what did I do wrong? And again, this all happened literally on the 9th day that I had owned this truck. And, you start wondering, okay, did I buy a lemon? Did I, what possibly could happen? Well, so I did more research, And while certainly some people did get their batteries replaced in that, so there's a true fear there of that happening. Others had suggested just doing a reset of the truck. And so, with that thought in mind, I'm kind of like, well, what do I have to lose? I mean, at this stage, I either have to take this to the dealer, and at that time, the MO was pretty much, oh, yeah, we got to replace your batteries. And it's going to, we're going to have your truck for a week or two while we get the new batteries and that type of stuff. So, I rebooted my Silverado. It had, at that time, maybe close to 1,000 miles or somewhere around 1,000 miles, I think. We'll check the screenshot here in a bit. Because I had driven it from Washington all the way back down to California. So that put a lot of miles on it within that first 9 days. So I rebooted it. And for the next week, I kept waiting for the message to come back. I'm kind of like, okay, give it time. Maybe it needs to drain the battery. Maybe it needs to charge the battery, something like that. I can say at this point in time, we've got over 6,000, almost 7,000 miles on the truck, and the message has never come back. So did I just get lucky? Maybe. My theory is that something between the different systems had a communication problem that set an error flag or whatever that it didn't know how to deal with. And by rebooting the system, it basically had to start over, had to rebuild all of its checks and balances. And again, we haven't had any other problems, at least with the high voltage system. So again, if you get that problem, and especially in a Silverado EV, try rebooting your car, try rebooting your EV first, just to see if it'll help clear things up. Obviously, if it doesn't, take it to the dealership and have them go through a more thorough diagnostic and stuff like that. For me, my closest dealership is over 40 miles away. So it's not something where I, just drive 5 minutes down the road and have them take a look at it. So the only other error that I've had with the truck in almost 7,000 miles is, and again, it was early on, it was within about the first month or so of owning the car or truck. I got this little indicator light down on the lower left-hand side of the dash. And, it's kind of like this little yellow-orange light that came on. And that's all I had was this little indicator light. And I'm like, well, what the heck does that mean? And so without any other good clues of what's going on, I basically pressed the big blue button since I was still had all the free OnStar service since just buying the truck. And they actually ran a remote diagnostic, and they said, well, it's not urgent, but it's an error that basically says, please see your dealership within 7 days. Well, good luck with that. Try getting into any dealership in 7 days anymore. It's next to impossible. So when I got to work, I called the local dealership and scheduled a visit for the following week. I got in there not quite 7 days, but close. And they ran diagnostics on it and everything, and basically came up and said that I had a gateway error. So again, it was a communication problem. It was a problem that only it showed up twice on some very cold mornings, like 20 degrees Fahrenheit or maybe even slightly colder. We had a couple mornings where we were down close to 15, which is about as cold as it gets in this part of Northern California during the winter. So again, it appeared to be, it was probably actually a silicone error in from the standpoint of your electronics. They tend to be very temperature dependent, either extreme colds or extreme heats can cause them to not function within the specs that they're supposed to function within. And so most likely that's what it was, because the error actually cleared and went away. and then it came back again one other morning, and then it went away, and then I never saw it again. But luckily there was a log of it in the diagnostic log. So, and then that had them run some different tests to determine that it was this communication gateway. They replaced that, and again, now it's been a couple of months with no further problems like that. Can't say it's been that cold again, so we may have to wait till next winter to make sure that it's actually 100% correct. But it seems like it's been pretty correct. Other than that, those are really the only two problems that I have had, and they were both early on. So it's been, better knock on some wood here, it's been really smooth sailing since then. It just works, it charges, it drives, it charges, it drives, which is, and I haul stuff home for my weekend projects and stuff like that. So overall, again, very pleased with the purchase. And other than those two problems, which in that first one, like I said, was very disconcerting, but at least others had seen it before me. And by getting online, going to some forums, looking at some stuff, I had some ways to work with it. And again, if you haven't watched my YouTube on how to reboot your EV, check it out, at least if you have any of these sorts of problems, because it might be a way for you to simply get around a problem, even if it's temporary, until you can get your vehicle to a dealership and stuff like that. If you've had similar problems or other problems kind of like this with your Chevy, put it in the comments. I'd be interested to hear what other people are having, whether they've had good luck, bad luck, what's been your experience. But so far my experience has been pretty good, especially if I compare it to even the Kia, which didn't have a ton of problems, but like I said, it had a problem that lasted over a month. But if I compare it to my ICE vehicles, whether they're diesels or gas, I don't know that I always have a problem within the first week or two, but certainly within the first month or two, it always seems that they're back at the dealership fixing something on a brand new car. So I guess they just don't make things, the way they used to. But anyhow, I would love to hear your comments on what type of issues maybe you guys have ran into. And please like and subscribe. And again, if you haven't already, I'll put it in the comments below, the URL to the how to reboot your Silverado EV, in case you're interested. It's just a short little video, kind of literally a how-to type of thing. As always, if you like these types of short little videos, please like and subscribe. That encourages me to do more. And again, send comments. If you've got questions about your Silverado or other ideas, topics to talk about the Silverado EV, put them in the comments. Be glad to hear what you guys are experiencing, what other questions you might have. Have a great day.